Author Max W. Miller on the tube, and welcome to my channel. This afternoon, this is the first of a series on dreams and visions. Now, dreams and visions is a topic that's hot. It is always, people always have questions about dreams and visions, and I want to introduce you to a woman that I love dearly. Why? Because this is my mother. And my mother is here with me, and I got to thinking, Mom has a life, Mom has gifts and calling, and she has a life of dreams and visions. And as you can see, she's a very lovely lady, and she's been here for a while. But guess what? She has so much to share and so much to invigorate you with a life of dreams and visions, gifts that she's passed on to her children, me as one. If you know my story, or you see my blogs, or you connect with me on Twitter, you know that some of my books, in the beginning of the books, and some of the things that I have in my book came from dreams and visions. And some of those dreams and visions my mother told me, and dreams and visions that I've had through my life. So we're going to talk about that. Mom, say hello to the YouTube channel folks out there.
Hello.
Mom has 9 children. She is a widow at the moment. She might be getting married after this session here today, Mom. You look pretty snazzy there. But she is a Christian, and she goes to her son's church. She is a mother that is involved with her children. Sometimes we think that we've gotten away with something, and she'll walk right in and say, "What's going on with you? I saw this." Or I know this, or there was something going on. She's had dreams that's been so accurate until it was exactly what was going on at that moment. These are powerful things, and I know that we're not the only family that operate in this gift, but some of you out there may have questions, and some of you may want to share this video with someone else. So what we want to do is just open up the floor for Mom to speak from her heart. She's going to answer some questions I'm going to ask. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our books. And then you guys can come back to the channel for more information. So Mom, you feeling relaxed and cool? You're looking beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to start out by asking you if you remember the first time that you either heard a voice or you saw something that someone else didn't see, or I'm sure as a young girl you may not have known that it was something supernatural going on, but do you remember the first time you've had an experience like that?
Well, I was about 5, I think, and we lived in the country. And my mother had died when I was 2. So my sister and my daddy, we were alone. And he worked on the farm. It was a big farm named Camel Farm. And my sister would cook lunch, and I would take it to me and my dog Jack. Jack was
I got Jack in one of my books.
yeah. So it wasn't no fear of walking way back there, because it hardly was cars out there. Everybody had horse and buggy or whatever. And when she got to cooking dinner, she would fix the can, the little bucket, lunch bucket, And this particular time, I remember walking down the road, taking it to my dad. But part of the time, there was a big oak tree that covered the road. And on the two sides was nothing but fence and cows. And I was walking down this road, and when I got to that big oak tree, just before I got to the oak tree, I got afraid. Because you know how children do, they make a show of it, they'll say, oh, you know, that's haunted. And the children will, really pay attention. And when I got almost to that oak tree, I stopped. And I remember being afraid. But then I heard a voice say, don't be afraid. And I looked all around, and it wasn't nobody around. But like I say, the pastor on each side of the road, and it was full of cows. And I know the cows didn't talk. But anyway, and before I got to
we hope they didn't talk.
And I heard the voice again saying, don't be afraid. And I looked all around, but I know it came from above. And I looked up, and I seen nobody, but I heard the voice again. Said, don't you be afraid, because there's always someone looking after you.
Wow.
And I got calm. I mean, I was just calm. That voice was so demanding and so open that I believed it. And I went on through. Now, I don't remember getting to Daddy. I don't remember any of that because, like I say, I was about 5 years old.
Yeah.
And so that was the first incident that I experienced as a child. And, I was about 6 when my daddy felt like he couldn't keep me. So he gave me to his aunt, which is my great aunt. And she took me to Pittsburgh. But I always remember that voice, and I was never afraid of nothing.
So it was like a year after you heard this voice, then you left the country,
Yes, Sheldon.
and you went to live with your aunt in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, yes.
But that voice that you heard went with you.
Always. I don't care where I was or where I walked the streets or going to school. I always had that someone is taking care of you. But I always thought that it was my dead mama. That's what I thought.
That's what you thought, it was your mother watching over you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a topic open for discussion. We have different professionals and people that just have had experiences that come on the tube. So you guys need to keep coming back because we do talk about disembodied spirits. We talk about relatives, ancestors, and things of this nature. So, Mom, that is a topic for discussion.
Yeah.
And you would get several different answers on that. Who do you think the voice was or is?
Well, I didn't know God as God. But the older I got, I realized that our Heavenly Father is always watching over us. But like I said, I was young, and all I heard the voice, but it was such a soothing voice that it took all the fear out of me.
Wow. Yeah.
And even when I come into things, even at going to school and kids would pick after you, I was never afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That voice kept me
Mm-hmm.
all through my teenage years. So, I always knew. Well, the older I got, I know about God, and
Mm-hmm.
so I realized it wasn't my mom, but it was the protection of the Father.
I had an experience around, I guess it was around the same age or younger. Mom, you know about
Yes.
my experience, and at the time I was just like you because I didn't realize that something supernatural was going on. I didn't realize that I was seeing a vision, and this vision had to do with being fearful at night. I was
Yeah.
I was a little skittish thing. I didn't talk. I didn't talk much to people. I was in my own little world, my own little cocoon. And even in those days, I had a lot of imagination going on. With that, I also, the first vision I had, it was like floating rainbows that came into the room. And I was afraid of the dark, and these floating rainbows, it did the same thing that had happened to you,
Yeah.
and it was soothing.
Yeah.
And I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what the power of a vision or a spoken word from a supernatural source it can do if you accept these kind of things. And some people, they have encounters like this, but they deny the power.
Wow.
If you deny the power, then you cannot glean what that entity came to you for. And my book, The Legacy of Sadie Mae Stevens, The Godite Witch, is book 1 in the Sadie Mae Stevens series. Many of my books, they stem from dreams and vision, either a dream or vision that I had. I like to use mama stuff. I will use mama stuff in a heartbeat. And we're going to talk about I take. That's these huge angel wings. So you're going to have to stay with the channel and stay with the series so you can understand where the origin of, you want to hear this dream. You really want to hear this dream she's got to tell. But the legacy of Sadie Mae Stevens, teen superhero. She was a young girl. She lost her mother at an early age, and she had powers. She had powers. She had an arsenal that comforted her and guided her along her journey, along the path that she was supposed to take, her destiny. So, Mom, what would you say if you had to define a dream? What would you define a dream as?
A dream is when you lay down and you go to sleep. That's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
A vision is different.
Mm-hmm.
Vision is supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, raising my 9 children, and they would go, the boys at least, I had 6 boys and 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
Girls never, they always was like me, like a house, and especially you, they called you a house mouse.
I know. I didn't want to go out into the world.
But the boys, they're different, and they be out. But we were always close, me and my children, because I even had this, it was a vision, but it wasn't a vision that I seen. But I remember one night I was real depressed because I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do for my children. And I put all my kids to bed. They all was little then. And I went in the dark room and sat. And I heard the voice say, don't. You remember? I told you not to be afraid.
Mhm.
Because someone's always, now this I heard. And he said, I gave you those children for comfort because you never had that when you was growing up.
Mhm.
And I don't want you to be afraid
Mhm.
of anything
Mhm.
because your children are set aside for my use.
Mhm.
Now this is the voice. I didn't see anyone, but I knew about the Spirit.
Mhm.
I knew about the Holy Ghost.
Mhm.
And I knew because my family, my dad, his mama died, and it was 5 boys. And they were smart. It just was, our family growed up to, they learned to trust in God. So this is a inherited that I always had, that I knew God.
Mhm.
So that night I had such comfort when this voice spoke to me again
Right.
about my children.
Right.
And I just want to tell you how great and wonderful. I was always a loner too.
Mhm.
But I remember when my kids was real young, all of them wasn't born yet, but I think it was about 5. And I remember this saying because it helped me, and it just, oh, I cried like I had got $1 million. But that Mother's Day, I didn't know nothing what they planned, little as y'all was. But Mother's Day, y'all all came in the room. I think the oldest one might have been about 9,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And we didn't have a lot of money and all this here. But they put together and went to the store and they bought package of chewing gum. And they wrapped it up. Y'all wrapped it up, and you came in the room and you were so happy, oh, like y'all had $1 million. And you said, Happy Mother's Day. And that pack of chewing gum, because what they did, they took the little tooth, pennies and stuff, and they went and bought chewing gum that Saturday.
I remember. I made my
And they
card. I was the writing one. I
Yeah.
was always trying
Well, she
to write
always
something
was different.
strange.
But anyway, they wrapped them chewing gum up and they gave it to me. I cried. Oh, I was so blessed. And I was so happy. You'd think they gave me $1 million.
Yeah.
But it was so, because they did this on their own. And I don't think none of them was no more than 7, 8 years old. But that's what they did. And it have been a comfort.
So that references back, Mom.
Yeah.
That references back to what the audible voice told you
Yes.
about your children.
That's right.
Being a comfort to you.
me.
And that's why anything small, it might have seemed small to the world,
Yeah.
but it meant the world to you.
Oh.
And I know there's a lot of mothers out there, the same thing. If your
Right.
child does something small for you, it's a supernatural thing. It just brings peace and comfort and showers you with this. This is author Max W. Miller on the tube.